For years now, those who have sounded the alarm over the dangers of gender-affirming paediatric treatment have been monstered as bigots, hateful, transphobic, and even fascist. Now their concerns have been entirely vindicated by the Cass Review. The irreversible surgical malpractice that has left many young people sterile and eliminated their sexual function can be put down to the intimidation that has been stoked by groups who claim to advocate for LGBT rights. Dr. Hilary Cass has revealed to the British Medical Journal that children have been coached on what to say and what not to say in order to be prescribed puberty blockers. They're told not to say they're unsure about their sexuality, not to say they've been abused, because it's so high stakes at that point, she said. We have known for a long time that the overwhelming majority of children referred to the Tavistock were same-sex attracted, and that gender nonconformity in youth is a reliable predictor of homosexuality in later life. This has been confirmed in the final report by Dr. Cass, which found that 89% of girls and 81% of boys referred to GIDS were either homosexual or bisexual. The NHS has been practicing gay conversion therapy in plain sight. We also know that those who have been abused are disproportionately represented among the patients. One study cited in the final Cass report shows that 1 in 5 children referred to gender services have suffered sexual or physical abuse. In other words, rather than experiencing some kind of esoteric mismatch between body and gendered soul, most of these kids are simply gay or troubled. And yet they're being coached to lie about their actual problems to satisfy the expectations of ideologues. These people have snake oil to sell, and if a few children have to suffer, then so be it. Throughout the Cass Review, the lack of evidence for all of these treatments is continually emphasised. The very notion of gender medicine is underpinned by the belief that we each have a gender identity, what Helen Joyce has described as something like a sexed soul. In this, she is supported by trans campaigners like Julia Serrano, who calls it a subconscious sex, or the barrister Robin Moira White, who on my show Free Speech Nation said it was an essence of male or female. This amounts to a faith in the supernatural and is a key doctrine of the new state religion of gender. It goes without saying that people are entitled to their beliefs, but the idea that a metaphysical hypothesis should form the basis of NHS practice is, on reflection, extremely bizarre. One of the reasons why this has been allowed to happen is that so many have been duped into accepting that this quasi-religion has some basis in science. This is largely down to the influence of WPATH, the World Professional Association of Transgender Health, a body established in 1979 that is recognised as the leading global authority in this area and one that has pushed for the normalisation of the gender-affirming approach. Its standards of care have formed the basis of policies throughout the Western world, including the NHS, and it is explicitly critiqued in the Cass Review for its lack of developmental rigour. In early March, the credibility of WPATH was shattered when internal messages and videos which had been leaked to journalist Michael Schellenberger were made public. A full report was written by journalist Mia Hughes for the Environmental Progress think tank. It was called The WPATH Files, Pseudoscientific Surgical and Hormonal Experiments on Children, Adolescents and Vulnerable Adults. It revealed a general lack of ethical and professional standards. There are messages proving that surgeons and therapists are aware that a significant proportion of young people referred to gender clinicians suffer from mental health problems. Some specialists associated with WPATH are proceeding with treatment in the knowledge that no consent has been secured from either the children or those directly responsible for their well-being. They have also withheld from patients details of potential lifelong complications or continued down this path knowing that the children do not understand the implications. But then, how could a prepubescent or even adolescent child fully grasp the concepts of lifelong sterility or a loss of sexual function? The revelations of the WPATH files should have been the end of gender-affirming care, but so deeply rooted is this ideology in all of our major institutions that it was always going to take a lot more. We should not expect many of these people to admit that they were mistaken. The psychological consequences of accepting that one has been complicit in gay conversion therapy and the medicalisation of healthy children is perhaps too much for many to bear. The ideas are too entrenched, which explains why even the Cass Review has adopted some of the language of the ideology, for example, cisgender, or references to sex assigned at birth. Besides, too much is at stake for individuals who have promoted these beliefs. Ultimately, those responsible must be held accountable. Stonewall should finally be driven out of public life. Whereas the charity once fought for gay people, it now actively works against them. There should be an investigation into how it was allowed to maintain its influence in major institutions even after its shift away from gay rights and towards an anti-gay agenda. Any government departments and quangos still associated with Stonewall should sever all ties immediately. Both the Conservatives and Labour ought to ditch their commitment to a ban on trans conversion therapy and recognise that this will effectively stymie the therapeutic efforts of medical practitioners to support gender non-conforming children. Moreover, there should be a ban on private clinics who intend to persist with WPATH guidelines in spite of Dr. Cass's recommendations. Above all, we need to ensure that the well-being of children is never again sacrificed on the altar of ideology. This video was based on an article I wrote for Spiked Online, but most of my articles appear on my Substack, a long time before they appear as videos here on Trigonometry. So if you're interested, please do check out my Substack. The link is in the description.